And welcome back to the PGA Celebrity Golf Tournament 2022. We're back in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's a beautiful day here. We're joining Elon Musk on the 16th hole.
There is one there. Oh, God.
Across the country is really a
parts of the United States to move to different.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and Elon continues his warpath, this time confirming again this, in fact, indirectly blasting this left-wing journalist who enjoys the obvious bias that exists on Twitter, where the journalist is essentially calling for people to raise arms and is a clear violation of terms of service, but remains on the platform indefinitely. This is the type of bias. For me, there's data and things that show that right-wing users have a harder time gaining traction on Twitter. Then there's also data that claims to disprove that. One thing that I feel is indisputable is the way that the rules are enforced. I believe that right-wing or conservative users are on far thinner ice than left-wing users are. There are active Super Soldier Antifa accounts on Twitter, even though their group has been designated as domestic terrorists. Okay, they're active, calling for action. We see what happens when they call for action. There's all sorts of insane things that are allowed to happen from left-wing groups that you just would never see exist on the right wing. Well, over the weekend, there's this reporter named Caroline Riley, and she calls for more people to, well, I'm just going to show you everything. Hey, if you're enjoying the content, please take a second to click that red subscribe button down below. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Or if you're watching on Odyssey, Rumble, or BitChute, please subscribe there as well. Left-wing journalists calls for more acts of bad behavior against pro-life groups. This is Caroline Riley. More of this. May these people never know a moment of peace or safety until they rot in the ground, she writes. This was after a building here in Wisconsin, about an hour away from me, was set on fire by, I don't know, I guess pro-choice activist. You see here, Caroline Riley, reporter for our Rewire news group, has called for more arson against, pro-life groups, suggested an escalation to even worse behavior. Riley, in her Twitter bio, boasts writing for GQ, The Town and Country, Vulture, Inside Hook, and others. Says on her website that she is a, quote, award-winning journalist, and writes about reproductive health, men's fashion, hookups, and more. Her website also says her, quote, scholarly writings on the procedure for young people earned national recognition. Never heard of her, but yeah. The writer retweeted a New York Times article about a pro-life group's headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin being vandalized by Molotovs. More of this. May these people never know a moment of peace and safety until they rot in the ground. Riley's tweets are now protected. Vandals, of course, burned down the building in Wisconsin, the Family Action Office, early Sunday morning. It appears a specific nonprofit that supports pro-life was targeted. And it was targeted by a left-wing group. They had the key thing spray painted on there, 1312. I don't know. Obviously, that's a reference to something. I would say a female probably wrote this. Very good handwriting. Insane. If the procedures aren't safe, then you aren't either. A direct threat. The report confirmed that nobody was injured, thankfully. Julianne Appling, president of the advocacy organization, said, imagine if somebody had been in the office when this happened. They would have been hurt, or maybe worse. Now, this was pointed out here by Cernovich, saying, here you go, Elon. When Twitter employees invariably lie to you about their enforcement policy, maybe they can explain why a verified account was allowed to incite terrible behavior without any care in the world about being banned. It doesn't even occur to this journalist that she would be banned for directly inciting Terry behavior. Zero to fear, as this view is more likely shared by a preponderance of Twitter employees. Of course, the Babylon Bee writes, has to wonder if a joke is what it will be that finally gets them banned. Elon Musk actually replied to this, writing, Twitter obviously has a strong left-wing bias. Like I said, my preference is to hew close to the laws of the countries in which Twitter operates. If the citizens want something banned, then pass a law to do so. Otherwise, it should be allowed. Tyler Carditis, CEO of The Blaze, writes, and for this you'll be smeared as all sorts of things. Let them screech, stay the course. It's a perfect example of, like, you're literally out here calling for people to do more of this, more of this. It's because they live with zero fear of repercussions, zero fear of any, it's like that Taylor Lorenz chick showing up at people's houses. She doesn't care. She's not worried about anything because, quite frankly, only on one side of the aisle seems to have these, insane outbursts where they burn down buildings, millions of dollars in property. If the right was doing that, maybe these people wouldn't feel so brazen, but they're not. And by the way, should I say, neither side should. It's just a very obvious thing. Like the summer of peace, the summer of love that caused billions of dollars in damage was justified, glorified by one side of the political aisle. And it's the same side as the political aisle that writes this kind of stuff. A verified Twitter user who's accepting money for their tweets. By the way, another verified, I have 200,000 followers. I'm not verified, but yeah, this person who's calling for more people to, commit attacks, they're fine. Now, this says in this article from The Conversation, Elon Musk says relaxing content rules on Twitter will boost free speech, but research shows otherwise. Let me write an alternative headline for you. Free speech is bad, actually. When Elon Musk's accepted bid to purchase Twitter has triggered a lot of debate about what it means for the future of the social media platform, which plays an important role in determining the news and information so many people, especially Americans, are exposed to. By the way, again, they're saying the quiet part out loud there, aren't they? They're worried that you're going to hear the truth. They're worried that, you're going to hear maybe unfiltered opinions. Musk said he wants to make Twitter an arena for free speech. It's not clear what that will mean, and his statements have fueled speculation among both supporters and detractors. As a corporation, Twitter can regulate speech on its platform as it chooses. There are bills being considered in the U.S. Congress and by the European Union that address social media regulation, but these are about transparency, accountability, illegal, harmful content, and protecting users' rights rather than regulating speech. Oh, you sound so mad about that. Musk's calls for free speech on Twitter focuses on two claims: political bias and excessive moderation. As researchers of online misinformation and manipulation, my colleagues and I here at the Indiana University Observatory on Social Media study the dynamic and impact of Twitter and its bad behavior. To make sense of Musk's statements and the possible outcomes of his acquisitions, let's look at what the research shows. Unfortunately, Twitter and other platforms often inconsistently enforce their policies, so it's easy to find examples supporting one theory or another. A review for the Center of Business and Human Rights at New York University has found that, quote, no reliable evidence in support of the claim of anti-conservative bias by the social media companies, even labeling the claim itself a form of disinformation. Geez, I wonder why. A more direct evaluation of political bias by Twitter is difficult because of the complex interactions between people and algorithms. What you admit in your own piece is that the data can be wrapped up, packaged, and presented in any way that fits anybody's particular desired outcome. But the fact of the matter is, quite frankly, that there are just innumerable high-profile examples of right-leaning individuals being banned from your platform, and I can't even name a single mainstream left-winger. I mean, you have The Tallies have an account on Twitter. You let the Chinese government have an account on Twitter. You have far leftist super soldiers on Twitter. You have accounts that essentially are putting out information on Supreme Court justices allowed on Twitter. You have, I mean, all of these left-wing accounts that are committing terrible, bad behavior seem to just have unfettered access to Twitter. But some doctor posts an opinion that he doesn't agree with, maybe the mainstream opinion about particular treatments, he's banned. You know, and you know why the mainstream, like, geez, I wonder why the mainstream media is saying Musk says Twitter is biased against conservatives. Facts say otherwise. Again, I wonder why the mainstream media would be, you know, pushing that narrative. Of course it's biased against conservatives. Of course it is. Like, it's bias in every possible way. In the way that what they allow to trend is manually curated, and what they allow me to see. If they weren't biased, why can't my followers see what I tweet? Why am I shadow banned? Like, I'm literally shadow banned on Twitter. Why? Why do they continue to refuse to verify me, even though I'm a YouTuber with 1.2 million subscribers? I have a viable case for verification because there are imposter accounts. I'm in the media. I've had numerous articles written about me, and they decline it. Yet some left-wing psychopath journalist is verified who has 1,000 followers. I mean, I don't really need to dig deep to find perfect examples of left-wing bias on Twitter, and I'm glad that Elon's calling it out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified when I upload, because I've got 5 more planned for today. We'll talk to you again real soon.